Are you kidding me? Soon the entire crew will be a Twovix army!
Coming up, chaos ensues aboard the Cerritos as dozens of crew members across the ship merge to form hybrid beings.
Somebody's phaser it!
Look out!
Oh God, it's on me!
God, don't let it infect you!
Don't shoot! Why not?
It's a tacky and macro virus.
Meanwhile, Mariner, Boimler, and the gang fight a neurovirus takeover of the USS Voyager as they take the soon-to-be museum back to Earth.
All this and more.
Coming up on the season premiere of the Star Trek Lower Decks edition of Energize.
Energize.
We're hilariously going into the uncharted regions of the Star Trek universe.
You're listening to Energize, a Star Trek Lower Decks edition podcast. Your source for comedic analysis, colorful debate, and fun discussions about the adventures of Beckett Mariner and the USS Cerritos Lower Decks crew.
I'm your host, Anthony McLemore.
And I'm Steve Truitt. This week, the crew of the Cerritos face a rogue duplicating virus and genetically altered hybrid crew members.
How will the Cerritos crew overcome over-the-top shenanigans, wreaking havoc upon them?
Here's a warp speed recap of the Season 4 premiere of Star Trek Lower Decks, Twovix.
Cerritos, shoot a beam up.
Copy, Commander. Energizing. Something is wrong, sir. There's only one pattern. What the? Where am I? And who am I?
Captain, we have a problem.
He's been symbiogenetically merged on a subcellular level, Captain. It's called being Twovixed. The same thing happened to Commander Tuvok and Neelix back in the 70s.
Did Janeway figure it out?
No, she just murdered him.
Well, there has to be more to it.
She isolated the genomes and split him up. It didn't take us long to look up Janeway's solution. Let's just hope Mr. T'Illips doesn't do the same.
Are you kidding me? You are Chandas, and you're with friends. This is Shabarns and Swale Swalens. Soon the entire crew will be a Twovix army!
All right, Steve, we are back. We're back in the...
Yes, we are.
We are back in the Star Trek Lower Decks edition of Energize.
I love when we cover Lower Decks. It's my favorite time when we do Energize. It's just such a nice break from everything else that we do and everything else that we cover. And I love this show.
Yeah, and to your point, I mean, I always get a good laugh. They always make fun of themselves. They use a ton of canon, so you stay consistent. But overall, It's just a fun, nice break from some of the heavier themes that come from some of the other shows.
For real, absolutely. And it starts off great. It's a really good start. We're seeing our ensigns right back where they started from last season. They're in their bunks.
Yeah, and here's what's really good about this show. We're in season 4 of Star Trek Lower Decks, and we have seen an evolution with all the characters. And that was something that was really good, because you would expect an animated series to go all Hanna-Barbera, and they're just the same year after year after year after year. And no offense to Hanna-Barbera, I grew up on all Hanna-Barbera cartoons, but
sure,
then we all did, if you're of a certain age.
Which we are.
But we've seen an evolution and growth. We saw it with Mariner. We saw it with Rutherford and Tendi. And it's been really, really good in Boimler. And so I've really appreciated that, and this episode is no different. And so, yes, we start with the Cerritos. I mean, it's on this mission. It's undisclosed. And they are tasked with taking the USS Voyager to Earth, where it will be on display as a museum. So a nice nod.
Captain's log, stardate 58724.3. In a pleasant surprise, the Cerritos has been tasked with transporting the USS Voyager.
USS Voyager. When they reveal that, I Voyager wasn't my favorite series. But when the music kicks in and the ship comes to life, I got chills, man. That's one of my favorite ships. I love the Intrepid class. And it was just exciting to see. And again, they're just bringing canon into the show and just honoring the hell out of it. It's so much fun to be a part of that.
Yes, and that's another thing that makes the show very, very easy to follow because it's linking to things we already know that's already built into our Star Trek viewing DNA. So it makes it consistent, and you just forget that it's an animated comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as we touched on before, the evolution of the character. So we find Boimler who's cleaning holodeck waste. Didn't know that was a thing. And
a smelly thing, apparently.
Yeah. I'm just like, okay, well, I guess a holodeck expends energy. So I guess with anything that expends energy, there is waste. And so unless it's electric.
Good call.
Touche.
Oh, I like that. Oh, you got that in there.
Yeah. So Boimler's cleaning up, and Ransom comes up to him.
Oh, don't get too used to this kind of work, Mr. Boimler. Promotions are coming up, and I think you'll be very happy.
Wait, really?
As long as nothing goes sideways today.
Yeah. He's like, listen, you might be having a good day here. We're handing out promotions, and someone might be on the list. Of course, if nothing goes wrong.
Well, this is Star Trek Lower Decks. Something always goes wrong. So,
and that's what Boimler says. He's like, "Oh, what are you talking about? Something always goes wrong."
Yeah, so we're on the lookout. So our radar, our antenna has already been raised. The radar is on, and we're ready. We're ready to find out what the hell is going to happen. And so, we're on the lookout.
Oh, after this, you want to get a head start on tomorrow's titrations with me? We can label the test tubes.
I do enjoy an accurate label.
And so we find Tendi and this new Vulcan crew member. They're on the USS Voyager, and they take off in a shuttle. And we see what looks like a pink leaf floating from the hangar. It goes through the ventilation system onto a transporter pad as Dr. Tiana and Engineer Billups, love Billups, are about to beam over to the Cerritos.
Energize! Something is wrong, sir. There's only one pattern. What the? Where am I? And who am I?
Right, and so we've seen this in an episode of Voyager, which was also called Twovix, but it was spelled differently. This one it was spelled Twovix, two. But in the Voyager episode, Tuvok and Neelix were merged when they were transporting with this particular plant, and they became Twovix, an entity all to itself. And that's what happened here with Billups and T'Ana, and that entity became T'Illups.
Yes, I just started laughing immediately. I was like, okay, all right, I got you. I know where this is going. This is hilarious. And it was a great throwback to Voyager. And, Captain Janeway had a dilemma.
Well, yeah, she did. And it was a good episode because they're saying, well, listen, this new entity deserves to live. And in fact, this new entity said, no, I want to live. I'm happy with this. I'm a new creature. Let me live. And eventually Janeway had to decide, well, no, I can't let two other people die so you can live. And it's logical. It's like even Tuvok would have said, it's logical to put us back.
Exactly. You kill off two for the one.
Two. Yeah, exactly. The needs of the many.
Of course. Outweigh the needs of the few or the one.
That's right.
The Twovix.
That's right.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But so then we go back to Voyager, and they're on their way. Even when Voyager, amped up to go into warp, with the nacelles putting out, I just thought that was just so great. But Mariner's on board. They're on the bridge, and this very nervous museum curator is freaking out because he's like, don't touch anything, and this needs to be pristine, and we're taking it back to Earth, and it's going to land, and it's going to be Voyager Day, and it's going to be a museum. But of course, Mariner taps on a panel and lets loose this weird macro virus. It's like this giant virus.
Oops. Let me just Wait, there's something behind the neural gel.
Somebody's phasering!
Shaka, look out!
Oh God, it's on me!
Don't let it infect you!
Don't shoot! Why not?
It's a tacky and macro virus.
And it starts running around the room, and it splits, and it gets into Boimler's face. It was so funny.
Yep, and then all of a sudden it splits into two, as viruses do. They duplicate, they replicate, and they're wreaking havoc all over the ship.
Leaving slime everywhere.
Yep, and so, with the virus just running around, I mean, it's causing mayhem. They're touching buttons. All of a sudden they activate holodeck characters simultaneously. So they're holodeck characters, which are like every villain you can think of in story time, are all over the ship, and they're fighting them.
Right, and these are all holodeck characters from Voyager, right? Including Dr. Chaotica, who was, I think he was in 2 or 3 episodes of Voyager where Janeway had to defeat him by going into the holodeck. It was done in black and white, and it was such an awesome throwback to that character. And he's got the ray gun, and he's, that kind of guy.
Yeah. Again, another good throwback, and I thought it was really, really cool. So all this chaos is happening. In the midst of the chaos, Boimler is talking to Mariner, and he's having reservations, reservations about getting promoted.
I'm having an off day.
Oh, this was supposed to be fun, and you ruined it.
Ransom was gonna promote me today, but I don't want it.
What are you talking about? Did you eat some of that virus slime?
Don't forget, he's saying this to her while she's, slimed against a wall.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
She's trapped, right? And he's like, I don't know, I don't want it to ruin our friendship, because when I went to the Titan, it took us months to repair our friendship. And she's like, dude, I'm the one who recommended you, which is a nice little touch.
Exactly. And there's been a really great evolution in Mariner and Boimler's, relationship. And, Boimler was pretty self-centered, in season 1. He wanted advancement. He was all about, for all intents and purposes, towing the line to the point of being a suck-up, brown-noser.
Yeah, he definitely was.
Which is the complete opposite, to Mariner,
Right, and that was a nice contrast. But remember, these two have even gone into the past together. They even had a little nod to that at some point in the show, where she's like, "And that whole Pike thing we're not supposed to talk about."
Yeah,
They've had a lot of adventures together, and you can see they want their friendship is more important, and that's a big deal.
Yeah, and it's really refreshing. And so Boimler goes to the bridge later on, and he rescues Rutherford, over the other officers. He makes a choice. He makes a decision in the moment, and, falls back to come up with a plan.
Mr. Boimler, zap this stuff and get me down from here.
No time, I need an engineer.
Ow!
Sorry.
Wait, free us too! If we survive this, we're having a long talk, Mr. Boimler.
Well, he's like, I need an engineer, right?
Exactly.
So he takes him, and Ransom's like, get back here. So they run up to the bridge, and it's a brilliant way to buy time for Rutherford to fix the problem. So Boimler stands up against Dr. Chaotica, and he says, I don't remember what he said, but I'm the son of somebody. I can't remember if that was the character. Dr. Future, I don't know what the hell it was. But it just scares Chaotica, like, what?
Any last words before you feel the sting of my electro-luger?
Ha! There's only one thing you haven't thought of, Dr. Chaotica.
Please, I think of everything at all times.
That's what you think.
Yeah, he falls in line and he plays along with it, which speaks to Boimler's evolution and the fact that he really has always had or exhibited leadership skills, even though he was such a brown-noser. He, believes in the structure. He wants to be an officer, and he's showing those skills in this moment.
I think so, too. He makes decisions quickly, even if someone says, don't leave me, like Ransom did. And he uses his knowledge of Voyager to, go against Chaotica and buys just enough time for, Rutherford to, as he said, put in the Neelix cheese, which is how they solved the issue. Because they mentioned that in the beginning, like, I remember that episode, or that time when Neelix put cheese into the bio-neural circuitry and it messed everything up. And so that's what he does. He puts the Neelix cheese in. And it does, it kills Voyager in one way, but it stops the chaos.
Yeah, and so Rutherford and Boimler save the day. End up saving the day. But meanwhile, while all that's taking place on Voyager, there's this whole other thing, brand of chaos that's going on the Cerritos.
So great.
Yeah.
Did Janeway figure it out?
No, she just murdered him.
Well, there has to be more to it.
She isolated the genomes and split him up. He begged her to live.
Holy sh**. Janeway didn't mess around.
And so we find Captain Freeman, is going through the logs, and she's looking at what Captain Janeway did with the Twovix situation, and finds that, Janeway had a tough decision, which we previously discussed, and she needed to separate Neelix and Tuvok, which would end that new life form's existence. And that's a conundrum, but we know what needs to be done.
Right, so they go to Billups' quarters, I guess it is, and Illips is in there, and she, I don't know what it is, it's a cat with a mustache, has somehow rigged something, but we don't know what it is yet. And when Shax and the captain enter, they're like, listen, we're not going to hurt you. And Illips knows exactly what's going to happen. It's like, you're going to try to, you're going to try to put me back. You're going to try to split me.
It didn't take us long to look up Janeway's solution. Let's just hope Mr. Illips doesn't do the same.
Are you kidding me?
So he lures Freeman into this trap and merges Freeman with the ship's psychologist. And suddenly there's this new being again, and I can't remember what he called it.
Yeah.
The captain has a beak now.
Yeah. And I just thought this was funny. I'm just like, oh my God, this is going to get out of hand. And of course, that's what happens. But, Tillips is all about self-preservation. And I get that in that right. When you, any being, any life form wants to, preserve its existence. It's all about protecting itself. So I can't fault Tillips for doing, Billups for doing that.
Tillips for sure.
Yeah, Tillips, that's right. Tillips for doing that. So it makes complete sense.
Even if he's merged, though, he's still an officer, and he should abide by Starfleet rules, maybe. And he's not. Like he just goes crazy and starts to just try to merge everybody.
You are Chandas, and you're with friends. This is Shabarns and Swale Swalens. He's a combination of Steve Stevens and Matt the Whale. I want a fish. He's not my best work.
And they run into whatever the version of 10 Forward is, that lounge, and he's like, grab those two, merge them. He's like leading this pirate kind of, thing to try to grab everybody.
Yeah, and it was funny. There was one merge that didn't quite go well.
Well, so the one I love is I think he goes, well, they can't all be perfect or something. But they merge. Is it Steve Stevens? Is that his name?
I'm not sure, but they merge him with the whale.
Yeah, and he's just like, I want a fish. That was so great.
They can't all be winners.
They can't all be winners.
We have to do something!
I am already taking control of the transporters.
You can do that?
Starfleet systems are easily circumvented.
Right, so then what's the name of this Vulcan?
I didn't get her name. I might have missed that, so sorry, everyone. But
yeah, me too. I was trying to remember. Like, wait, was she last season too? But she's definitely new.
Yeah, she's definitely new. And I thought maybe she was on one of the other ships when they did another lower deck situation.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, that's what it reminded me of.
A little bit of like she's like a T'Pring if T'Pring were in Star Trek, or we're in Starfleet. But Tindy's all about her. She's like, we need to be science friends. And then meanwhile the Vulcan's just like, yeah, whatever. But when the group, is getting out of hand, the Vulcan figures out a way to stop at least the chaos by transporting everybody together into, I think it's either sick bay or one of the brig, and it just comes out as this giant meatball blob with legs and arms sticking out.
Yeah, just a big mess,
Oh my God! And you can only do that with the cartoon, right?
Right.
It just was so great. It was just so disgusting. And Tindy's like, "Oh my God, what are we gonna do?"
Yeah, but they have to work together, and they work together to separate. They figure a way. They work. They isolate everyone based on their emotional signatures.
which is Tindy's idea, because the Vulcan's like, well, let's just logically split them, but we can't. And yeah, so Tindy really figures it out, which is key to the story. They get it done, and then everybody goes back to where they were.
Yeah. And so we get to the end, and Voyager makes it to Earth, and everyone is restored to their original selves. And in a ceremony, so we go to the ceremony, and we have the lower decks are all being promoted, even Mariner, except for Rutherford. Rutherford didn't get promoted.
He didn't get promoted, and that's sad to me. And he's like, well, I did break Voyager, so he's always got the best attitude. But the cute thing about it was Boimler and Tindy get promoted, and Mariner's like, hey, I'm happy for you guys. And then Ransom's like, and Beckett Mariner. And she's like, wait, what? She just doesn't want to get promoted.
I went back and dug through your record. You've had a lot of small-minded commanders who promoted then demoted you. But now, you're with Jack Ransom.
Sir, I am refusing this promotion.
Yeah, I think she wants to live in this space, and at some point you have to grow up. I mean, that's just the way it is. You can't. You mean, like, when it comes to singles, you can't be the old man at the bar. When it comes to you can't be an old ensign. In this situation, everybody has to grow up at some point, or you get left behind.
She just doesn't want to, and I don't know if it's ever really, really been examined, but I know the mother has something to do with it, Captain Freeman, but I'm wondering if it's something like, I'll never live up to my mom, or I just don't know. She's just a free spirit. Maybe that's just it. She's just a free spirit.
Yeah, but she definitely has value because she plays outside the box. There is value in that. You have to have those kind of people. So it's going to be interesting to see where these characters go as they've all been promoted. So that just means new challenges and new responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, meanwhile, in a last-ditch effort, Mariner goes to Ransom's quarters, and she's like, I don't want this. Take the pip back. And he's like, sorry, you're staying promoted. You can't deny the promotion. She's like, yes, I can. And he's just like, nope, you're going to get promoted, and I'm going to shepherd you through this. And, you wonder if he's trying to torture her or not, but I think he's being genuinely interested in, seeing her promoted.
Yeah, and I, ever since last season when she was assigned to Ransom, it's been really interesting to see how that plays out, because, I really wrote Ransom off as just the meathead. And but then again, he is, Freeman's first officer, and so you can't be a complete meathead and and be first officer.
The first season we saw these characters almost. Well, they are two-dimensional, of course, but the characters were two-dimensional. Like you said, Boimler was just out to be promoted. Ransom seemed like a meathead. Shax was just a warmonger. Freeman was ditzy, and Mariner was... And over these 4 seasons, we've seen them evolve into, to these complex, more three-dimensional characters, and Ransom included. And it's interesting to see that.
Yeah, I'm ready to see how this all is going to play out. So he denies her, and then we jump to a Klingon ship. Oh, where we see some more lower deckers. They're
so great. Yeah. This guy's sharpening this blade, and he's like, I'm sharpening my blade, and whatever. His girlfriend or whatever is like, that's not a blade, it's a spear. How dare you? Like, they just start fighting.
Unknown vessel, you have drifted into Klingon space. Identify yourself.
No response. Should we fire on them?
We gain no honor in destroying an incapacitated ship.
And what do they see? This strange delta weird-shaped thing in space. It's like a ship. And they're like, just ignore it. There's no honor in destroying something, which is a weird thing to say, I would think. Like, kill it. Like, you would think that the Klingons would just kill it anyway. But it gets the best of them, and it actually fires on the Klingon ship and just tears right through it.
Yeah, and it ends with a cliffhanger. So I'm like, holy crap. Oh my goodness, what's going on here?
Yeah. So we'll see what happens next episode. I can't wait.
Exactly. So it was a good ending, and it's piqued my interest.
Yeah, they really, Michael McMahon and this whole crew, they know how to write, they know how to entertain, and they know how to keep us engaged in so many different ways. Again, I mean, Strange New Worlds is definitely my favorite series, but Lower Decks is right up there. I just love Lower Decks.
Yeah, they're doing. They came in well. I mean, this was a good first episode to get us going. They've piqued our interest. We got promotions. We have a new
intrigue and mystery.
And this
canon.
Yep, and this nemesis that's out there that I'm sure is going to plague us the rest of the season.
We'll find out.
Yep. Well, that concludes this episode of Energize, a Star Trek Lower Decks podcast.
Hey, if you want to check us out, we got a whole website. It's www.energizepodcasts.com. And Anthony, if you don't mind, I'd like to point out to our listeners that my audiobook is now available on Amazon. My book, The Deletion, is available in audiobook. I read it myself. And if you are an Audible member, it's free.
There you go. Let's listen. Let's jump right in there.
Please.
Yep. Well, thanks for listening. I'm Anthony McLemore.
I'm Steve Truitt. Live long and prosper.